Well, thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Friday, June the 9th edition of our video devotionals. We appreciate you being with us today. Hope your day is going well. It is the end of another work week, and probably it's the end of school for this year for the kids, at least for the school year that started back in August and September of last year. You know how the school year goes, and then they'll have a new school year begin in August. So they have a little bit of a break there, and the kids always enjoyed the summer break. Well, let's jump into it today. This is Faithful Friday. And we want to acknowledge the fact that God's been faithful to us. There's no doubt about it. And let's just live for the Lord and be faithful to Him because of His faithfulness. There's no way our faithfulness matches His. There's no way. But we can be faithful to the Lord because He is so good to us. All right, in our Today book, June the 9th, it says, in the year 1009, the Crusaders sieged Jerusalem. 1870, Charles Dickens died. Let's see here. Today is the date attributed to the death of William Carey. I don't have a year here, but that's what it says. And then it's the birthday of John Howard Payne, who wrote the song or the poem, maybe the song that became the poem that became a song. I'm not sure, but you've all heard the expression "Home, Sweet Home." Well, here it is written out here, and so it's the birthday. Today's his birthday, but it doesn't give a year. But I guess it doesn't matter. Okay. And hopefully your home is home sweet home. They say there's no place like home, and you can take trips and go places, but no place like home, no doubt about it. All right, so we're going to be in Nehemiah chapter 9 today, and I do believe, as I'm looking at my list here, that, on Monday when we come back on the 12th, then we'll be in the book of Esther. We'll just begin the book of Esther. So this will end the book of Nehemiah for us as far as our devotions go. But I've got a good one here for you that kind of matches up with the Faithful Friday theme. All right, so Nehemiah chapter 9, notice, we'll just begin at verse 21. It's basically giving a listing of things here, that how God has been good to the people and the different things. And it says here, as the children of Israel were in the wilderness for those 40 years, we'll start verse 20, kind of give you a context. It says, "Thou gavest also thy good spirit to instruct them, and withheldest not thy manna from their mouth, and gavest them water for their thirst." We're all familiar with the manna that came from heaven. They'd pick it up every day. On the sixth day, they'd pick up twice, so they wouldn't pick up on the Sabbath day. Then it says, verse 21. Here's what I want to look at today. It says, "Yea, 40 years didst thou sustain them in the wilderness, so that they lacked nothing." Notice this. "Their clothes waxed not old, and their feet swelled not." You know what that's saying there? Imagine clothes lasting 40 years. Now, my mother always said, and this is true, and I guess it's true now, my wife can attest to this if you were to ask her, I guess I'm hard on clothes, I'm hard on things. Maybe, I don't know, because when you're a big guy, maybe that's part of it. Maybe being careless. Maybe just that's the way it is. I don't know. But at any rate, imagine that you had clothes that when you started out in the wilderness, that you could wear those same clothes throughout the 40 years. Isn't that amazing? Now, that's God who did that. That's not the quality of the garment. That's just simply God's making that those clothes last. And here's an amazing thing. It says, "And their feet swelled not." Basically saying they didn't have any need of shoes because God sustained their shoes that they had. And interesting, their feet swelled not. Sounds like maybe their feet didn't grow, because you know how it is. I know how it is. I mean, everybody's feet from a child will grow, and you have to have new shoes because you just outgrow them. But imagine in 40 years' time, the Bible saying your feet swelled not, meaning that they were able to wear the same shoes for 40 years. Now, that's a miracle. And that may not sound like a miracle like the crossing of the Red Sea or feeding 4,000 or 5,000, but I think that's a tremendous miracle, because I know how hard I am on stuff anyway. I can imagine that if I was a boy out there, let's say I was a boy of 10 years old, and at the end of 40 years, I'd be 50 years old, and then I could wear those shoes for 40 years. Isn't that something? That's just telling you and me that God can do anything He wants to do, and God is mindful of things like the clothing that you wear, like the shoes you would wear. And I do believe that if you trust the Lord, then the Lord's going to take care of you. As I was reading further on here, chapters 9 and 10, it talked about tithing. There's one thing about it. If you tithe to the Lord, I believe God uses this same principle here. to take care of you and to make things last and preserves things that you have. Otherwise, when you don't tithe to the Lord, you're robbing God. I know that's strong language, and I want to end this on a high note. But the truth is, the principle here is that if you serve God, you trust God. Isn't it amazing that God will take the things that you have and preserve them, and just take care of you? The Bible says they lacked nothing out there in that wilderness, and their clothes, they were preserved. Their feet, their shoes, they were preserved. Isn't it amazing? So I think that's pretty good news on this Faithful Friday. Well, kind of a miracle today that I'm ending under 6 minutes, but we're going to do it today. Otherwise, have a great weekend, a great Sunday. You be safe, you be healthy, and we'll see you, Lord willing, on Monday.